we already seen the draw normal and draw behind, but there's a third mode which is normally not available. You can see it here. And remember, Shift D is the shortcut to switch between the drawing modes. Now let me show you how it works. First of all, you need a container, an object in which you will be able to draw. Once something is selected, you can switch to draw inside. And the way you can tell that you are in this mode is that you see those little dashed lines at the corners of your selection. Then we can switch to the brush tool and we can start drawing. And the great thing about this mode is that whatever you draw will only be visible within your current selection. So if I just go back a few steps, I could even draw in a spiral and it will only be visible within the selection. If I want to draw zigzag lines, even that one will be contained within our current object. Now the interesting thing about this is that this technique creates a clipping group. When we go to the layers panel, we can see exactly what that means, that we will have this ellipse, the original shape, which is underlined, meaning that is the container or the clipping mask. And if I turn that off, we actually see my line. So all those parts outside are still there, they are just not visible. And as long as the container is turned on, it's going to hide all those parts that are outside of the object. Now let me go back a few steps and let's try to put this mode to use. Just to keep with the same theme that we already have here, I'm going to draw a beach ball. Let's start here on the top. I hold down the Alt key, then I can close it up into one circle. And then let's draw the next line, which is going to be something like that. Then another line, another one. Can go this way, that way, and then try to curve this one down. Now don't forget that you can also use the blob brush tool while being in draw inside mode. So let me just switch to that tool and I'm going to switch to a color like red, and I'm going to increase the size of the brush by holding down the square bracket. And now if I draw, once again, it's going to be kept within the same shape, and I just have to move it underneath the other lines. I can then also change the color or fill color of that shape in the middle. Just add, I don't know, white as the fill color, or maybe orange, and make sure it's all the way at the top of this shape. That way all the other lines are not going to affect it. If I now want to change the colors quickly, I will have to exit the draw inside mode, and we will need to use live paint for that. But to be able to use that, you will have to get rid of the clipping. The easiest way to do that is to have the whole object selected, and from the Pathfinder panel, you can choose this option called Divide. Once you click on it, it might mess up the strokes, but they can always be improved. So we can just go here, select the black as the stroke, increase the size of it slightly, and maybe this object here on the top, this can be reduced. And then all we need to do is now select the whole object and use Live Paint Bucket, and then click on the areas which we wanted to colorize. But here's another important thing about the Live Paint, that when you have gaps like this one here, it might not recognize that this is two separate objects, and it will colorize both sections. You can actually notice when you are affecting two big areas by seeing that red outline, which covers both sides of this area here, already warns us that it's going to do too much. But the good thing is that under the Object Live Paint Gap Options, you can actually increase the gap size. And let's just increase it up to large. And I will click OK. And now you can see it recognizes that gap and ignores the fact that it doesn't go all the way. And I can still colorize only one section of it. I'm not saying the draw inside mode is crucial and it's something that you will use all the time, but it can definitely speed up the way you work and make it easier to contain lines within certain shapes. And just to give you another example, I could even draw the cast shadow the same way. I will just draw a circle here. Let's just say that's going to be the shadow. I move it behind the ball and I will remove the fill color from it. Just keep a stroke color, or maybe even not the stroke color. We can even remove that. But then I switch to draw inside, select the brush tool. And now all we need to do is to paint over this area here. When I'm close, I try to keep it tighter and then fade out slowly like that. And it actually looks quite nice, like a sketchy cast shadow. And I can always decide to remove the stroke from the outline. That way we only see the actual paint. And again, because that line was created with the brush tool, I can also reduce the thickness of it if I feel like it's too strong. And if I wanted, I could go over it again and add a little bit more shading here closer to the ball. So that was just another quick example of how to work with the draw inside technique. But after seeing all these different ways of drawing, we still haven't talked about one of the most important techniques, and that is the precision drawing with the pen tool. So that's what the next video is going to be about.